Hello students, today you're going to talk about ratios as comparisons. You will have a substitute today as I am out with my family, working through some family things. This notes page here is going to assist you in your worksheet that you are going to complete right after. I know that there are a lot of word problems on this notes page. However, all we're going to do is just practice labeling and setting up our ratios. And then on your worksheet, you will actually solve the ratios. So here we go. Let's jump right into it. At the very top of this page, it says determine if the ratios below are equivalent or not, and then justify your reasoning. So when looking at question number 1, it says we have a 4 to 18 ratio and then a 2 to 12 ratio. So if I just set those up as fractions, if I take my 4 over 18 and make it equal to 2 over 12, I gotta ask myself what my relationship is between these two ratios. So how do I get from 4 to 2? Well, I divide by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now is 18 divided by 2 12? And the answer is no. 18 divided by 2 would be 9. So we would say no because half of 18 is 9, not 12. And that's it. So let's go ahead and move on to question number 2. I've got a 5 to 20 ratio and a 15 to 60 ratio. So if I make those ratios equal to each other, 5 over 20, and I'm putting 5 at the top because it's my first number, right? So that's my numerator of my fraction. And that's equal to 15 over 60. Well, what's my relationship between 5 and 15? I'm multiplying by 3. 5 times 3 is 15. So is 20 times 3 60? And the answer is yes. These are equivalent. And they're equivalent because our scale factor is times 3 for both our numerators and our denominators. And as we're scaling by 3, we're getting the right number for our numerator and our denominator. So that's why they're equivalent. For question number 3, I have a 17 to 3 ratio and a 68 to 12 ratio. So that means that I'm going to set up my ratios as, I'm going to write it up here, 17 over 3 is equal to 68 over 12, okay? Instead of working with 17 over 68 just yet, I'm going to focus on my relationship between these two numbers, my smaller numbers. I know 3 times 4 is 12, so then I need to check 17, multiply it by 4 to see if I get 68. What is 4 times 7? Well, that's 28, carry your 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus my 2 is 6, so therefore those are equivalent. My scale factor is 4, okay? So I'm scaling up with my denominator and my numerator by 4, getting both 68 and 12 as my new ratio. So I know that my ratio is equivalent, okay? So down here, I've got 5 questions, 5 word problems, and it says use your understanding of equivalent ratios to answer the questions below. We will not be answering the questions. What we are going to do is make sure that we label our questions and then set up the ratio properly so that you know what to do for your next worksheet. And on the next worksheet, you will actually have to solve the problems. So here we go. What I want us to do is skip question number 4 and just go straight to question number 5. So go ahead and cross off number 4. And let's jump into question number 5. Okay. A French toast recipe uses 2 eggs, so I'm going to circle my values, 2 eggs to make 14 slices of French toast. Brenda wants to make 98 slices of French toast to feed her family and friends. Now I'm going to underline my question. How many eggs will Brenda need to make 98 slices? Okay, so what we're doing here is we're comparing eggs to French toast slices. So what you're going to do is you're going to take eggs, I'm going to want you to put E for eggs, over slices, S. Okay, so we're first writing down are words that we're comparing, eggs to slices. Now go ahead and extend out your ratio table. Our first value of eggs is 2, and our first value of slices is 14, okay? Now this is saying Brenda wants to make 94 slices of French toast. And how many eggs will she need to make those 98 slices? So my 98 slices are going to go at the bottom of my ratio table. And my question mark for my eggs is going to be right up here. And now I need to figure out my relationship between these two numbers here. So what I can do is I can take 14 and multiply it by a number to see if I can get to 98. So let's go ahead and do that. 14 times, let's say 7, okay? 7 times 4 I know is 8. I'm going to carry that 2. 7 times 1 is 7 plus my 2 is 9. So there we go. I'm scaling by 7 times 7. So now I'm going to take my 2 and multiply it by 7. There we go. And then I would end up with my answer, okay? So all I'm doing is first setting up my eggs and my slices, because those are the two things that I'm comparing. Then I'm writing down my two values of my eggs and my slices. And then I'm also going to take my second value of slices, 98, and make it in the same line with my slices so that everything is lined up, and put a question mark for my eggs, because that's what the question is asking me to figure out is my eggs. All right, moving on to question number 6. Alumide plays the piano and the guitar for every 5 minutes of piano practice. So let's go ahead and circle that. 5 minutes of piano practice. He spends 8 minutes practicing the guitar. How many minutes will Alumide practice piano if he spends 64 minutes practicing the guitar? Okay, so I'm comparing piano and guitar. So therefore piano is going to go first. P for piano, G for guitar. Okay. For my first value of piano, they gave me 5 minutes. So I'm going to write 5 up here with the piano. And then my first value of guitar was 8. So I'm going to put my 8 down here with the G for guitar. Now my question says, how many minutes will Alumide practice piano? So therefore my question mark is going to go up here for my piano if he spends 64 minutes playing the guitar. So therefore my 64 needs to be at the bottom. Now I'm going to go ahead and try and find my relationship between those two numbers, and then copy that relationship or scale factor at the top to get my answer. So you can ask yourself 8 times what number would get me to 64, and then copy that multiplication problem at the top so that you have the same scale factor. Question number 7. At doggy daycare, there are 3 trainers assigned for every 12 dogs. So we're comparing trainers to dogs. There are 72 dogs enrolled for the daycare on Tuesday. 72 dogs enrolled for the daycare on Tuesday. Determine the number of trainers needed. Okay, so here we go. We're comparing trainers to dogs. So I'm going to put T for trainers and D for dogs down here. I'm going to extend my ratio table. My first value of trainers was 3 trainers. And my first value of dogs is 12 dogs. Now the question says determine the number of trainers needed. So my question mark is going to go up here with my trainers. And my 72 is going to go down here with my dogs. There are 72 dogs enrolled in the daycare on Tuesday. Now in order to solve this ratio, I'm going to find my relationship or my scale factor between 12 and 72. So 12 times what gets me to 72. And then, of course, I'm going to copy that relationship at the top. I'm going to copy that scale factor in order to get my answer. And last but not least, question number 8. Okay, Maya was baking cupcakes for a party. She mixed 4 drops of red food coloring for every 6 drops of yellow food coloring to dye her icing orange. Circle the ratio of food coloring drops that could create the same orange color and justify your choices. Okay, so what we're doing is we're finding equivalent ratios here. if I'm starting with a 4 drops of red for every 6 drops of yellow ratio, that is a red to yellow ratio. Okay. And my first value was 4 red drops for every 6 drops of yellow. Now what I want you to do is I want you to fill out your ratio table. Okay. I want you to simplify this first. What if our scale factor was dividing by 2? Okay, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So therefore, 2 red to 3 yellow would be a ratio that we could go with. Okay, now I want you to maybe say multiply your 2 to 3 by 10. Okay, we're going to scale up by 10. So we're going to multiply by 10. That would be 20 over 30. That's not an option here. Let's see if we can scale up by 11. Okay, so if I had my 2 to 3 ratio, scaling up by 11 would be 22. Scaling up by 11 would be 33. Okay, that would work. What if I doubled that? That would be, if I doubled this, so times 2, doubling this by 2, that would be 44, and this would be 66, so there's another option. Okay, my 40 to 100 is obviously not an option. Neither is my 24 to 26. Okay, because if I have a 4 to 6 ratio, let's say we go back to our 4 to 6 ratio, to get to 24, that would be multiplying by 6, right? 4 times 6 is 24, but 6 times 6 is 36. So therefore, my 24 to 26 option is not available for me. Okay, and then if I was to do my 4 to 6 ratio scaling up by 7, so say it was times 7, 4 times 7 is 28, and 6 times 7 is 42. So therefore, this would also be an option, my 28 red to 42 yellow. Now, I know that's kind of messy, but if you need to go back and rewatch what I just did there, go ahead, okay? If you have any questions, be sure to ask your substitute for any clarification, and be sure to completely finish your worksheet for today. And I will see you guys on Thursday.